Good morning. It's Saturday morning. Today is Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. I hope you started nice Saturday, and then we see how it says today. It's the number 4. Be aware of the small snowball effect of your thinking. You know, I don't know if you heard about snowball effect. It's quite famous, effect at the when it comes to financial industry, and the snowball effect is the compound interest. You start with the small, but once you start gathering, it gets bigger and bigger, incredibly. And yeah, there's a many industry or many business concept that you could use a snowball effect. But this time, we're gonna use the snowball effect in our mind, the thinking. All right, there you go. A powerful technique for becoming more peaceful is to be aware of how quickly your negative and insecure thinking can spiral out of control. Have you ever noticed how uptight you feel when you caught up in your thinking? And to top it off, the more absorbed you get in the detail of what's upsetting you, the worse you feel. It seems like the way when you have a small instant or past incident something or future matter that you start thinking about it, and the thinking is actually connected to other thinkings, and it's gone and on. It never stops unless you stop it, right? So one thought leads to another and yet another, until at some point you become incredibly agitated. So you get exhausted. Oh my God, something like that. At the end of all the thinking that the grown up after snowball effect, you say, "Oh my gosh, that's it. Just can't do anything." That kind of feeling. For example, you might wake up in the middle of the night and remember a phone call that needs to be made the following day. That's okay. Okay, you remember it. One. Then, rather than feeling relieved that you remember such an important call, you start thinking about everything else you have to do tomorrow. So that phone call, it trigger all the other matters, like chain reaction or snowball effect, whatever it's called. You start rehearsing a probably conversation with your boss, getting yourself even more upset. Pretty soon you think to yourself, I can't believe how busy I can't believe how busy I am. I must make 50 phone calls a day. So you start looking at a little bit negative way. Whose life is this anyway? Well, I don't know. I don't know whose life is like that. Why, if you work in the sales, I believe you make a 50 calls or more than that. Anyway, and on it goes until you're feeling sorry for yourself. For many people, there's no limit to how long this type of thought attack can go on. That's a good way to call it, thought attack. In fact, I've been told by clients that many of their days and nights are spent in this type of mental rehearsal. Needless to say, it's impossible to feel peaceful with your head full of concerns and annoyances. Well, if you like to have peaceful mind, the basic, simple answer is nothing in your mind. That's peaceful because it's nothing. Once you start gathering, well, peaceful with a happy thought, well, that may be, yeah, like the current what's the best way to describe the growing concept of mindset, open mindset, that maybe that. Anyway, let's do it. The solution is to notice what's happening in your head before your thoughts have a chance to build any momentum. So you gotta catch. You have to know. That's the thing. The sooner you catch yourself in the act of building your mental snowball, the easier it is to stop. In our example here, you might notice your snowball thinking right when you start running through the list of what you have to do the next day. That's the snowball effect. You just realize that that's the moment. Then instead of obsessing on you or coming day, you say to yourself, wow, there I go again. Now I'm doing this one again. It's like you're talking to yourself. That's a good practice. Sometimes people say talking to yourself is not really a healthy matter, but to me, I really, really, advocate. I'm really, really suggesting and recommending. You gotta talk to yourself. You actually have so many different, sides of yourself within you. You gotta realize who you talk to. There are so many different. We gotta talk about later anyway. I've got like full chapter of talking about, how many of yourself within yourself in your mind. So here you go, and say you there I go again, and consciously nip it in the bud, like cut it out. You stop your train of thought before it has a chance to get going. You can then focus not on how overwhelmed you are, but on how grateful you are for remembering the phone call that needed to be made. Here you go. That's the practical answer. If it's the middle of the night, write it down on a piece of paper and go back to sleep. So, one thought came up, clean it up by writing, clean it up, empty your mind, go back to sleep. That's it. You might even consider keeping a pen and paper, by the bed for such a moment. If it's not happening, a lot in your case, you better do it. You may indeed be a very busy person. Of course you are busy. But remember that filling your head with thought of how overwhelmed you are only exacerbates the problem by making you feel even more stressed than you already do. Try this simple little exercise the next time you begin to obsess on your schedule. You will be amazed at how effective it can be. Well, luckily thinking and conscious mind from neocortex, it's not just from neocortex. I think our midbrain as well, it's helping. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I was going to introduce that, but it popped up too early. So there are two things I've been thinking about it. Once, it's a practical point of the mindset. There are two different things. Goal-oriented, so you're always looking at the end, versus, progress-oriented. You're always looking at the steps. Well, I'm not against the goal-oriented. It's helpful to motivate you. Yeah, you could do it. Those kind of mindset. But when you have a goal-oriented, if you do too much, then you start saying, oh my God, it takes forever to get there, or I never get it done. Those kind of mindset is interfering, which is not healthy. So rather using that, wow, doing good. I've done one, and next. It's like one after the other. Like this is like progress oriented. That's gonna be helpful. But anyway, things are going, and then I don't know. I learn more. I try to share this concept to my children, and then I was thinking about it. What's the best way to describe it? And I do know, a little bit of quantum. I recommend this book. It's it's got Leon Lederman. It's God particle. It's talking about a lot of quantums, and then it's like story based, so it's pretty easy to understand. But that's too much for our kids, for my kids. So I found that I don't know if you heard about the movie. What do you think? Yeah, What the Bleep Do You Know? It's like early 2000. The film was produced, and then there's in the middle, There's a small YouTube clip, you could catch. It's about Captain Quantum. Captain Quantum will describe, what is the reality happening on the subatomic base, which is every day. If you look at all the material around you, this subatomic, if you go like deep end, when you hear me here, and then when I'm talking, even myself is, when you look at the deep down, it's subatomic level. So if you look at the subatomic, there's something interesting happening. It's I'll put in the description the link for the Captain Quantum. It's really interesting. So if you understand that clearly, and then you know what I'm talking about, goal oriented and progress oriented, why it differentiate a lot? Because things happening just according to the observer. There's a lot of says observer. Things happening according to the observer. Things happening, by your perspective, my perspective, and others' perspective, all different because we see different. We concentrate different way. All right, time stop. To talk about it. All right, thank you. Have a great day and see you tomorrow. Bye.